Come on. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Purposely. I'm so excited for this one. I'm introducing you right now to Anita Siek. I think I've said her last name right, from Wordfetti. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to talk to you. We were just chatting before we went live because I'm doing your Wordfetti, your words course at the moment. So I was just saying that I feel like I know you already, but some people may not know you. My business partner introduced me to you. She was following you on, this is a funny story, following you on Instagram, and then she downloaded one of your freebies, and then she just kept sending me your stuff going, oh my God, this chick is awesome. How cool is this? And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it was all very timely. We were doing blogs and looking at our website. And then I saw she got an invite to do this little teaser for your course. And she's like, Emily, I think that you should do this because my job in our business is marketing. And so I signed up for your course, and now I'm been fangirling on you for a while now. But for I know. For people who don't know you, when you go to a barbecue or something, how do you explain who you are and what you do?
Oh gosh, that actually is a completely different spin to the traditional. Tell me about your story. I like that. What do I say to someone at a barbecue? Okay, so I probably sum it down into just a sentence. I write words. It's the words you see, whether it's on a billboard, whether or not it is, the words that you hear, the words that you see, the words that you read. Words. That's what I do. And Emily, for probably the first 3-4 years of the business, it was predominantly us doing it. But what I found was, which I'm sure we'll probably speak about a bit in this episode, in the last year or two, we've literally enveloped everything that we've learned and shared it out there into the world, into the course that you're in now. But I love that story. I didn't know about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so there we go. Your Instagram is doing its job. It's attracting the right audience who have the pain and the problems that all of your clients have. So tick, that's exciting. And a lot of people have that same problem. Like, they do content and they're being really diligent and disciplined, and they're doing it all the time. But a lot of people are talking to no one because they're just doing content for the sake of content. So what I loved about your course was it's teaching you how the psychology behind copywriting, because I'm into psychology and brain science and all that shit. So I was just loving everything that you teach. But what I love about what you do is you teach people that you can't outsource your brand voice to somebody else. Nobody knows your brand like you do. And I've tried to outsource this many times, and it doesn't really work. It kind of works sometimes, but it pretty much, you're never going to nail it when you're not doing it, because you intimately know your clients, you intimately know their problems. And once you get that voice right, it's like, bam, everything else
that's it
falls into place. But how did you work this out? Because I know that you didn't start off as a copywriter. You started off as something else.
Yes. So it's very non-linear journey to doing what I do today. My mum still has no idea what I do. Actually, I try to explain it to her a few times. So if you were to ask me, Emily, at the beginning of the episode, what would you? I would have no idea. Yeah. But similar to I guess to follow on from what you were saying, I actually was a lawyer. So, but before doing what I do today, so writing things people didn't read.
Exactly.
So it was, I did, 6.5, 7 years in law school, but I also studied psychology. So it was a dual degree. It was law and psychology. And to be honest, reflecting now, like the law bit, I think I secretly knew that I never wanted to be a lawyer, but I love my parents, don't get me wrong. But it was a very, I guess, traditional Asian upbringing where it was just like, do you want to be a lawyer or do you want to be a doctor? And Anita does not like blood. So lawyer it was.
Yeah.
So I did around 6.5, 7 years of study, and then got admitted, probably lasted in the corporate world for around 3 and a bit years, and started Wordfetti as a side hustle, as a side gig. And it was just purely through, pun totally intended, but word of mouth that we just grew. Yeah. And here I am today.
So what kind of law did you specialise in, just out of interest? I actually wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer at one point.
Yes.
I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I didn't follow that path. But I mean, anyway, I kind of did law in a way with employment law. That's part of kind of what we do.
Yes.
But I'm just, it's so interesting knowing what I know now about law. It's not all Harvey Specter and doing deals, and
no,
it's describe what it was like studying.
Oh.
It's like 6 years of hell from what I've heard.
Yeah.
And what did you specialize in? Like what tickled your fancy, if anything, about law?
You know what's funny about what you've just mentioned there, Emily? Like I knew that it wasn't going to be like, so psychology was like my fun, like fun, like half my week would be fun, half my week would just be like, and it was a completely different dynamic too. Like when we were in the lectures, completely different vibe. But I actually really was interested in, I guess, the areas of domestic violence, family violence, and criminal law and family law. So I did a lot of work, and I also worked with a magistrate that really specialised as well in domestic and family violence. I did some research in that area as well. So I really focused on that for probably around 1.5 to 2 years, so not even too long. And then I found myself, and I was in government throughout the entire time. And what I then found was I really wanted to dive deeper into more of the policies and legislations. So again, writing things people don't read. But I was really interested by that, because words, that was kind of what kind of started it all for me, because how you write certain policies and regulations and legislations, even the smallest of tweak in word choices could result in a completely different meaning in that. And that's what people go to, especially now for COVID, right? You look at the words people are using, you look at what people are saying. And I spent the last 1.5 years of my career in corporate, in policy and legislation. So probably more overarching. And I worked also in the Premier's department, where we really looked at like big rollouts of different elements. So yeah, it was a little bit, it was me trying to find my feet, but I was like, I think now on hindsight, looking back, and I think studying law actually was my way of being like, I'm very interested in how words, different word choices, reading legislation, cases resulted in completely different results, like the slight change in words. So yes, that was 3.5 years, criminal, family, and then legislation and policies.
Wow, I so didn't pick that, like in terms of what you specialize in, but I don't know what I thought it would be, but I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, now I'm curious. What did you think I specialized in?
I don't know. I have no idea. I thought maybe commercial law, because you're very commercial.
That would have been a very strategic move for me to, everyone else was applying for commercial. So around 3-4 years into law school, that's when you apply for all these clerkships. Not Anita. Anita forgot the due date.
Yeah, that's so funny. I love it. So fast forward to now. I mean, hang on, not fast forward, but a lot of people have a similar experience to you, and I've interviewed over 100 millennial entrepreneurs on this show, and the story is pretty much the same for everyone. They go to uni and they study something because their parents want them to. I did the same thing. I think everybody can resonate with that. But then how do you just go, do you know what? I am going to throw this 6 years of my life away. And it's like a lot of money that you've invested in this law degree.
Yeah.
How do you go, do you know what? I'm just going to go for this other thing, and I'm going to quit this safe corporate job and embark on starting a business. Like what happened for you? How did you do it?
I love this question because it was not easy, like you mentioned. Like, it was actually really challenging to actually figure out. Like, I delicate danced for probably like the last 8-10 months before I actually did leave. And even when I did leave, I actually had I actually requested for leave. It's like, give me attention.
My son's stomping around upstairs because it's school holidays, so the dogs are barking.
I've got my two littles here too. I reckon if they would have heard yours, they would be talking. But to kind of mention, it was really challenging. It was really hard because I think the hardest bit was not more so, like, I knew it was not meant for me, but what it was for me was actually more so what my mum would think. So it was more so that, because I knew she, as well as my dad also passed away by the time I graduated and left corporate, but I knew both my parents worked very hard to put me into the best school. They invested in so much money to do all the extracurricular activities to support me in more tutoring and all of that, with the goal to see me as this barrister, which was like the goal, right? But here is Anita being like, I'm just gonna go. Like, so it was that was the hardest bit for me, as to what my mum would think. And it actually took me a year to tell her that I quit.
Oh my God,
juicy. I know. And I have to put it in a disclaimer. It's not because I wanted to lie to her. I love her to bits, but it was also a little bit of, by the time I tell her, I want to be so confident that this is working, that she's going to feel it in my voice and she's got nothing to worry about, because I knew she would be worried. I mean, I'd be worried about me too, like, but I didn't want her to worry. And I wanted her to know that I'll be okay, that I'm going to be okay. This is going to be even better. So it took me a year to tell my mum. And how, to go back to your original question, Emily, as to how I did it, I wouldn't say that it was as logical, where I was like, okay, so I'm going to save this much money, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to leave here, and then by the time my business makes this, and then I'll go. I had all of those swimming in my mind, where I'm like, okay, if I made as much as I did in my corporate job, then I'll go. But it never happened because I was giving it side gig energy. So how would I expect to make a six-figure business back then to replace my six-figure salary if I was only giving it a few hours in the week, you know? Yeah. So that was one thing. And the second thing, and I know we can be really real and raw on this podcast episode, but it was actually 3 months before I was due to leave my corporate job, I actually got a promotion. And it was actually... it was actually the role I've always, wanted. I was like, if I got to that, that is it. I've made it. And I got that very, I think, I guess quickly, and I didn't think I would get it as quick as I did. But what resulted in that was, I think 80% of the team I was working with was stoked. They were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, Anita. But 20% of the team, and it was a close-knit team, 20% of the team, I can just tell in meetings, in executive meetings, would just, and I kid you not, Emily, it was like they would just go on their phones. They would roll their eyes as soon as I'm talking. They would, just kind of they would talk, and then as soon as I walk in, they would just walk away. There would just be moments like that where I'm just like, and there was an actual event that happened where one of them very blatantly did not put me into an email for a specific reason. So long story cut short, there was just 2-3 months after I got the promotion of, I guess I'll have to just like bullying behavior. That was just, nasty. And I feel like I'm someone who is quite bubbly, hello doggo, quite bubbly and quite I guess, enthusiastic. They're so cute. Quite bubbly and enthusiastic. So it was quite challenging for me to, I guess, approach those situations. And I did it in the most gracious way possible. But gosh, it just got to the stage where that was the reason that resulted in me leaving. I was like, look, I think I think this is the kick up the bum I needed to actually see, because the business was actually picking up as well then. And then I just got this new role. There was more responsibility. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to give this a go for 6 months. So I took leave for 6 months. And that was how I left. So it wasn't as, I guess, planned. But it was the best thing that happened, honestly. Best thing that happened.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? I feel like sometimes things happen for a reason, and it was like maybe the universe was like, okay, we'll give you this promotion to really show that this is not actually what you want and what you think it's going to be, and then that will be the catalyst for you to leave.
Yeah. And now on hindsight, looking back, if it wasn't for that, I probably would still be there, because I actually did really like the role. It was actually really interesting. I was like, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, that was how I left.
Amazing. So fast forward to now, Wordfetti. How long have you been in business doing the Wordfetti thing? I love your name, by the way. It's the best.
Thank you. Oh, it's been 4 and a bit years now. Wow. 4 and a bit years now. So that would have been back in 2000.
Sorry, can you just hang on? My son's
of course.
Just here, and I don't know what
of course.
Sebby, what are you doing? You're being really loud. I'm doing a podcast. Take the dogs. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I actually have to text my husband now when I'm doing a podcast, because sometimes he will do the same, and my dogs will just bark when there's any noise. They'll be like, intruder.
I can just hear him bashing around up there. He's on his phone on Facebook Messenger talking to one of his friends. That's, that's what they do. That's what they do. He's 8.
Oh,
he's 8. Sorry. So that start again. I missed that because the dogs were barking and.
No, all good. So this was probably 4 years. So I started Wordfetti as a side gig in 2017. Yep. And then I left my corporate job in 2018. Wow,
cool.
So that would have been, technically 4 years, but probably full-time in it, 3 years. Yeah.
Wow. And so how many employees do you have now? Like where are you at? Like what?
Yeah, so we've got 4. We've got 4 team members, and just for full context, like there was a stage where we had like 6 or 7 staff. We've definitely, because of the, I guess the business model that we are now, which is more 80% digital courses and programs and 20% service. It's actually, we're at a really comfortable 4, maybe 5 soon, very soon. But we're at a very comfortable 4. I've got a head of marketing and operations. We also have we've got 2 admin assistants, and we're also likely going to be going out to search for a copywriter and content writer to support us, because we recently lost our copywriter. Yeah. Hey?
I said that's a bit sad.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I'm also so excited for her. Like, it's just like she secured an incredible corporate role, and it's actually a great honor to be able to be part of that journey for her. So it's sad for us, but exciting for her.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's the way you've got to look at it. I also find that sometimes amazing people go away and they go and work in other places and get new skills, but sometimes they come back. So
gotta let them go. Like, what's the saying? You've got to let let them roam free.
Let them go or something.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk about what Wordfetti actually does. So obviously you do a lot of content around educating people about what copywriting is and what good copywriting is, because doing your course has just blown my mind, because I feel like there's copywriting and then there's like Wordfetti copywriting, which is like next level, man.
It's okay. So I guess I'll quickly paint the picture of what Wordfetti, the evolution of Wordfetti. So to go back a little bit, when I first started, Wordfetti was really Anita. It was purely just me, and we were writing copy. Like I was writing copy for the first 2-3 years, and we grew as a boutique agency. I knew I didn't want to be a big agency, and when I said boutique, I mean like probably no more than 7 or 8 staff. That was what I felt really comfortable with. And we, like in the 1 year, we were hiring like 4 people, and then we got to that number very quickly. And what I found was, and our mission and vision in a way like hasn't changed. And that is, I've always loved the power of words, exactly to what I've mentioned to you. Like the smallest of tweak in language have the ability to trigger completely different emotions. I can tell you right now, Emily, I'd like to work with you versus I'd love to work with you. It's such a small change in language, but you can feel that it's different. It's a different vibe. And I knew if we were to stay in that boutique agency realm, and don't get me wrong, like it was so, I loved it and I'm so grateful for all of that. But if we stayed in that, our impact would always be capped. We wouldn't be able to spread the power of words, which is why I started the podcast. So I started Brandfetti the Podcast, probably not in 2020, but in 2019. And then what I found was then that actually generated more leads for us, which was, you know, obviously when you start putting more content out there, more people will be like, oh, I want to work with you. But then we couldn't because we were then capped. We had a wait list of 4 or 5 months, which from the exterior sounds incredible, but that is not sustainable. That is not sustainable for a business to have a wait list because we didn't have enough staff to be able for people to wait 6 months. And that's not me trying to be like FOMO. It was literally, we couldn't take on more projects and we had dream clients coming through, but which I had to turn away. So that was when, you know, these dream clients in general were like, why don't you just envelope everything that you know so we can train our team member in? And I was like, okay. Like, and I had to sit on it for a while. I sat on it for a bit because I'm like, who the heck am I to teach something? Like I've got people who have had 15 years of big agency experience, and here is Anita like coming in with, you know, none of that. Like who am I to teach people this? And it took me probably 6-7 months to sit on that until I finally decided, you know what, let me just test it out. Let me just see if this is something that will help people. And we had our beta launch in 2020. And like I still remember, and I still get the same zing now with each time I speak to students, with each time I teach, that zing of seeing those excited eyes and the DMs. And I'm a words of affirmations girl, as you can tell, but seeing the transformation, like even some of the notes like you shared, Emily, about how you saw results, like I was like, oh my gosh, like this is why I do what I do. And so it's now the business is predominantly 80% digital and 20% service, and it's just completely like I feel completely like rejuvenated, excited, re-energized, and just freaking love what I do.
I love that. I love that you love what you do, but it sounds like I think a lot of people struggle with this when they start a business, particularly when it's a service-based business. And I've got a service-based business, so I know this. Like if you're just selling your time for money, you have so many issues. It's so dependent on the quality of the people that you have, the quality of the clients that you have, and you can't grow. It's really difficult to grow a service-based business when it's just time for money. And so being able to productize your business and what you do is the only way to scale. So what's your advice for people who are having this problem in their business right now? How do they work out what it is for them?
Yeah, look, I think I've seen a lot of, I guess, talk of, you know, there's people who start digital courses and it's passive and it's very like set and forget. There's nothing passive about a digital course or anything like that. I think how you best choose what is right for you is actually what you feel like you can best show up for your audience to deliver on the mission that you've set out. And it's different for everyone. There are going to be those who are going to be able to best show up as building a team that's going to consistently amplify, and there are big agencies doing it amazing. So I just want to say, it's not that agency is not the right way to go. And as the leader, you've got to really look at how can you best show up, because it funnels through, right? Because your energy is going to funnel through to your staff, and if you are driving the ship, you need to make sure that you have set that vision to meet this, the vision and the mission that you set out for the business. So I think that first of all, you've got to get really clear on how you can best show up. What's that North Star for you? What's important to you? Because one, it can't be just money, because there will be months where money is, don't start a business if it's just for money. But getting really clear on what that North Star is for you as a leader or as a business owner, I think is one. And for some, it might actually be, really creating a powerful collaborative team. And there's nothing wrong with that. Or it could actually be to, take on more projects and be able to, and that there's nothing wrong with that. So get clear on the North Star. I think the second bit would really be to also understand, not necessarily exactly how, because it took me probably 3-4 years to figure out the how I wanted to deliver on the vision and mission, but be open to experimenting. And don't adopt this mindset of, just because XYZ has scaled that way, I've got to do it that way. Or just because Y has launched a course, I should launch a course. At the end of the day, it's for your audience. If you know your audience back to front, and if you know also how you best show up as the driver of the ship for this vision and mission, then that is how it should be measured by, not based on, that person made X amount from digital courses, or that person made that. You've got to look at what success means for you. What does that mean for you? And that's probably my third bit. What does success actually mean for you? Do you measure success based on, I don't know, the number of students? You measure it based on revenue. Personally, I probably wouldn't measure it based on purely revenue, but I would probably say for me, what's getting really clear on what success meant for me, which is actually the impact. Yeah. And actually, when I really sit down and think about it, Emily, as to the moments where I'm like, this is why I do what I do, it is the DMs, the voice notes, the seeing the results of my students. That is what fuels and brings that zing in my life. And sometimes it's through a podcast. Sometimes it's through free content that I'm sharing out there. Sometimes it's through just one lesson in one of the classes that gave them the result and got them the dream client. Or that could be someone leaving their corporate job because they're inspired by maybe my story. That is what I would measure success for me. And I think so often we don't think about that. I think when we come out of school, when we come out of university, it's always, for some reason, we put success to equal the money you make.
Yeah. And
it is this, and I won't lie, when I first left uni, that was me. I was like, okay, so if I made $100,000, that is that's the dream, to be able to make that, to be at director level or whatever, that is the goal. But when you measure the success based on purely just money, you'll always move the goalpost. You'll never be happy, ever.
100%. Ever. 100%. I think that a lot of people resonate with that. And I find that young people now are having not a midlife crisis, they have a quarter life crisis. But they're having this realization a lot sooner. I'm 44, so I'm not a millennial, but I coach a lot of millennials, and I find that they have a quarter life crisis. So when they're about 25, 26, they have this existential, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Why am I working in this job that I hate just because society tells me so? And I feel like we live in a world now where people can say, well, do you know what? I don't need to work in corporate. That doesn't make me happy. So I'm going to do what makes me happy, which is awesome, because I feel like I've got a son I don't want him to go to uni and do some stupid course just because it's going to make me feel good about the fact that I've raised a child that's going to uni. Do you know what I'm like? To me, it's like
100%.
I just want him to be happy, and I want him to do something that he's passionate about and find his own way, which I think is a bit different to the way that we grew up. My dad didn't go to uni, so he lived through me. Like, he pushed me to go to uni. I was the first person to go to uni in my family.
I resonate with that. Yeah.
And so I had this added pressure, and it's so funny because, like you, I had these goals. Like, I want to earn $100,000 by the time I'm 30. That was one of my goals. I want to be a HR director. Yeah. And then I want to buy a house by the time I'm 30. They were my goals.
Oh, that was like so much to me too. Yes.
And I did all of those things, got the promotion. Like, I had a job. I had my own car park. I had a Amex. You know, I was earning $150,000 a year. And then I woke up and was like, why aren't I happy?
Yep.
Why am I not happy? I have everything that I want. I've ticked off my list. And then I was like, it's because I'm not living according to my values. And this is actually not going to make me happy, because exactly what you said, what's next? Like, what's next? What's next? What's next? That's what we say. Yep. I will be happy when I get this, which is, we've got it all the wrong way around.
We've got it all wrong.
What do you have to say to people who are thinking, when I'm going to be happy when my business does this, or I'm going to be happy when I get a new Range Rover?
Yeah, how I would probably say to that, and I just want to say that was me too. That was me too when I was like, if I make that much in my salary, if I do this, if we make this, like, I'll be happy. But I think, and you nailed it on the head there when you were talking about how this is how society has changed so much and our economy has changed so much. Like, it's no longer just about having a uni degree. Like, so what? Like, so what with the uni degree? Everyone has got a uni degree. What else do you bring, right? I think for me, like, it's about really shifting that conversation. I think we've got it wrong. When I say we've got it wrong, is instead of all the to-dos and the to-do list, I would actually ask the question of, who do you actually need to show up as? Like, who do you need to be to do what you want to do, to achieve what you lack in the world? Instead of, once I do something, then I will have this, and then I will be happy. Like, we've got it wrong, because we think that our value and our happiness is based on something that is, once I do this and I achieve this, I will be this. Whereas the real magic is in, who do I need to be to do what I need to do to actually achieve the impact, whatever it looks like for you. I think when we look at it from that lens, it's less about all your to-do lists, but it's actually more about, even in the hardest situations and the hardest conversations or moments, like, how do you want to be and show up? How would someone who is creating impact in the world, not necessarily on just whatever it looks like for you, how would someone like that show up in their day-to-day life? Is how I would look at it, instead of, I'll be happy once I have a Lamborghini, or I'll be happy once I do this.
I love it. And like, so many people I speak to on this show, for them it's about purpose and making a difference and having an impact. And so where do you think this shift has come from? Because society has definitely made a seismic shift in the last however many years, where young people want to work for companies that there is a values alignment. They want to go to work in a place where they feel like they belong. They feel like they're actually having an impact. A lot of young people won't work at a mining company anymore because they don't agree with what they do. They don't want to work for a gas company because they don't agree with what they do. So why do you think this has happened? Because, older generations might look at some of these younger people and go, how can you be so entitled to think that you have the right to work in a career where you're living according to your values and making a difference? You should be grateful that you've just got a job.
Yeah. I completely hear you. Look, I think there's a number of things that have attributed to this. Definitely in the last almost 10, 20 years, the rise of the digital world has made it easier for people to share their voice. And that is an incredible thing. Like, I think so many people talk about, voice. Like, you do have a voice. Like, voice is not just, reserved for those who are speakers. Every single one of us have the ability, even if it's through writing, even if it's through speaking, we have a voice now, and we have a platform to share our thoughts and our opinion, and it's embraced as well. Like, we've got, in America, we've got like the free speech, like we've got so much ability, so much platform for us to share that. And, when we look at it from a human level, when we grow up in a society, and this makes sense as to why so many, those who are in their maybe 20s or maybe in their teens at the moment are feeling that pressure. Like, it's almost like we've now completely rebuilt like what we see on TV, what we see in movies. Like, we see so much about like the gig economy, and we talk about like startups in the tech world. Like, so you can imagine those who are in their teen years and watching Netflix or watching whatever, or the movies, they are now surrounding their thought as to what success looks like. It's no longer like all about law. It's no longer being a doctor, or there's all these different opportunities. And guess what? Mark Zuckerberg actually left uni. Boom. Like, blah, 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 never finished uni. Boom. So already we're building these like ideas and thoughts in our brains where we're just like, well, you know what? He didn't do that, so I don't have to do that. Or if he didn't go through uni and he still built a wildly successful Facebook business, like, maybe I can do that. And I think this is both an incredible opportunity. Like, I feel like we're living in such an incredible just time in life, and more things will probably come to play, right? But with more and more of this, we've also with more noise from people, from brands, I think it's also resulted in the fact that we're also now a little bit skeptical as consumers. So what I mean by that is there's so much noise. Everyone has, so it's a good thing, but it's also, on the flip side, there is so much content now. The amount of content, the amount of opinions, the amount of, content pieces that are swimming in the interwebs, it's quadrupled, that literally doubled every single like year. There's probably a stat somewhere, like it's just doubling and quadrupling. And there's an issue with that, or a potential challenge or an opportunity, because I think now us as consumers look at brands and we're just, are you just saying that? Like, am I actually going to get what it is that you're saying? Or are you just saying that because that's the cool thing to say? Like, are you actually, okay, you're saying you're ethical, but what do you mean by ethical? So we're so much more skeptical now as consumers. And I think that results too in us, for example, for the millennials or those who are in their teens or uni, when they're looking for a job, it's no longer just the salary and no longer just, okay, and it's no longer about ping pong tables and all of that. Like, there needs to be something more. Just like for consumers, it's not just about buying a hand soap. If I truly believe in social impact, I'm going to lean towards a brand that is going to communicate that. And the same for a company. And it's a perfect chance for a company to actually get so clear on their vision and what they want to be known for, because working for a particular company also says so much about you as a person. We choose brands that we want to showcase what we believe. We also choose companies that we believe what they stand for, right? So Google, if I say I work for Google, automatically you're thinking like, oh, innovation, like they're moving, like you're thinking certain things. So it's like a good and also like a challenge / opportunity for businesses, definitely in this digital world. I feel like I've answered your question in a very long-winded paragraph, but I hope that helped.
It did. So I just wanted to talk very quickly before we finish up about businesses out there. One of the things that I really learnt doing your course was the importance of your brand values and also your company values. So, and this goes towards what you've just talked about. what you really need to make sure that whatever your values are for your business is that they really are your values, because people call bullshit now. It's like BP saying that they care about the environment. Everyone's like, yeah, really? Just because you have this other side thing where you have this social corporate responsibility thing where you're pretending to do these things with turtles doesn't really mean that you care about the environment. People are very savvy. So for businesses out there who haven't really thought about this, and they maybe came up with their corporate values or their brand values 10 years ago when they started their business, but when they look at them, they don't really feel anything or get excited. What's your advice to those people?
Love that. Okay, so I can think of probably 2-3 things on top of my head right now. So first of all, when it really comes to articulating your company values, I think so often executives or business owners or those who are deciding on the brand values get stuck when they look at it from the lens of what should it be? Like, so instead of looking at it, what should it be, really think about, okay, so if you were to hire someone, if you were to hire staff, and even if you're a solopreneur, I want you to think of it that way. If you were to hire a VA, if you're a company, of course, hire staff or, team members, what characteristics would you be looking for when you are hiring staff based on that? Because it's a reflection also of the company internally, like by the staff that you hire, right? So if you were to say, let's just say someone who is, I don't know, I'm just going to throw something like out there, like just someone who has like imagination. Maybe it's just like the ability to actually look at something from 3 million different angles. Maybe that is one of the things that you really look for in a staff member. Then I would probably say second thing is get really clear on what that means to your company from an internal, like what does imagination look like? I think so often we look at brand values or company values and it's just one word. What does imagination mean for your brand? Because it's going to mean something completely different for me versus you versus someone else like that we meet, right? What does creativity mean? Like another buzzword is usually like, what does innovation mean to you? Like give me some, like at blah, blah, blah. Like innovation to us means blah, blah, and blah. It's not about this. It's not about this. Innovation is when you are able to blah, blah, blah. Like get really clear on what that looks like for your business. And I think the third one is really making sure that you are looking at your brand values too, or company values, and getting using that as almost like the cornerstone of the types of content that you're putting out there, especially if you're looking for talent, making sure that you are like whether or not it's Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever content channel your audience is going to be on, being really clear on, okay, so if I am saying imagination, or let's just say, I don't know, thought leadership but is important to my company, are you actually sharing that out there into the world, or is this all internal? Because it's usually just kept internal, right? So how can we actually amplify that through content like copy? Maybe you do a blog about imagination, do a podcast episode, or really talk about, or do a 60-second video that talk about imagination and what that is and how you've done that recently with a client. So those would be the 3 things I would probably say as to how you can really get started to make sure it's not just internal, but also externally facing out there to attract talent and also bring in your dream clients.
I love it. Great advice. So we probably should finish up there, although I could talk to you all day long. I know. But if people want to learn more about you and what you do, is the best place on Instagram. I've got your handle there, Wordfetti.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Have I got that right?
Yes, find me on our Instagram, Wordfetti, or me personally, which is Anita Siek, ANITA SIEK. I'd love to connect.
Amazing. And so if you're struggling in your business at the moment with copywriting, marketing, maybe even SEO, whatever it is, you need to check out Wordfetti. They give you so much free advice. And I highly recommend doing the course Wordfetti or Words. It's just been absolutely amazing. And then you get to listen to the amazing Anita every single day. And you get to keep all of the content as well, which is, is really cool. So
and all future refinements that I'll make to it.
That's it. And you know what I've also loved is the actual, oh my God, my brain's not working today. The group calls where you get to and you get to ask questions, and then even if you don't get to go, you can watch them. So much cool stuff. So thank you so much, Anita. It's been amazing to chat with you. You are just as awesome in person as you are, on video.
I love it, Emily. Thank you so much. Like you said, I could have talked to you for ages, but you're an incredible human. Love your work.
Thank you so much. And check Anita out. We'll share all of her handles when we publish the episode. But thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. And thanks again, Anita.
Thank you.